Did free agency start already? Did anyone tell Joe Hortiz?
Well, now that Max Crosby's unemployed, can he join our show? Can we have 5 instead of 4? It's only going to be better.
Tacos, hard shell or soft?
Where's the excitement?
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers Squad Show. I am not Pete Fox. I am your host today, Daniel Wade, joined with the quad box of Chargers content creators. Today we have Kenyon Barner, 3-time Super Bowl champion. We got Rob Busca here and also Jim Daniels in the house. You've seen us all before, but never seen us all together at the same time. And there is a lot to get into today, including I'm going to have each of you guys give me the one word that sums up Chargers free agency so far for you. Then we'll talk about some of the most recent moves. The biggest one, Delshon Phillips getting re-signed. Talk about the Chargers fortifying their special teams unit. And then we'll also get into some of the other biggest things that have happened so far. I thought the best part of the Chargers free agency has been before free agency started, to me personally, but we'll talk about the biggest signings, then bringing in the Kohler Bear, Charlie Kohler, then bringing in Cole Strange, what we think about that. I have a specific thing I want to talk to Kenyon about that part of it, and then we'll also just talk about the guys that they have lost in Odafe Oweh and Zion Johnson. But let's start it off here. I'll go with Kenyon first. We haven't talked about it last time we did the squad show. It was before the Chargers free agency. Now we're about 3 days into it so far, and so much has already happened. I guess it could be worse. You could be a Ravens fan, right, not getting Max Crosby, but it's been a slow start, in my opinion. But if I'm asking you to put it in one word how you felt about the Chargers free agency class so far, what would that word be?
Bland. It would be bland for me. There's been nothing. We addressed the center position. You get Khalil Mack and a couple other guys back, but there's been nothing here that has said to me, this is going to get it done. And so I'm waiting for that to come through. A couple pieces to really spark the excitement, and really get the city of Los Angeles talking, get the fan base talking about what they're doing in free agency and what they brought in and what this guy can do. It's just been bland for me. It lacks seasoning.
Yeah, I think that's fair, man. I think that's really fair with what's happened, especially since the opening bell rang for the tampering period to begin. And especially, I think, because you had so much, right? Like, you had $100 million in cap space going into it. You could theoretically basically get whoever you wanted or make a big run at them. And so, Rob, this is the first time we've gone together. I'm very interested to see what your word is to choose for the Chargers free agency class so far.
Special.
Oh,
I don't mean in a good way. Special as in special teams, because that's all they've addressed. Bring back Phillips. I like that. I like that because what does Phillips do? Is he a punt return guy or a kickoff return guy? He's a kickoff return guy. So they're telling me with all those tackles he gets, we're going to be kicking the ball off all the time because we're going to score all the time. So we got to have a good guy back there for that. Like, all right.
Bag too.
But then
Big
also,
bag.
what does Harris do? He's a long snapper, right? Those are used on punts when you go 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Okay, so we need a guy because we ain't going to move the ball, so we got to have a long snapper too. So I'm kind of conflicted with this. I could have used that word too, but special. JD's been calling me special my whole life and the whole time I've known him, so I'm just going to stick with that word now. Special.
I'm going to use the word perturbed. Perturbed. That's the way I am right now. At Webster's, if I can help you out here, uneasy feelings of uncertainty.
That makes a lot of sense.
Why are you doing this? Listen to me. Why are you doing this?
Come back close to the camera.
Why are you doing this?
Lean in.
Stop it. You know what we want. You know what we want up there in the front. Quit fooling around. Why are you doing this to us? Come on.
I love it. I know. You guys all did good. I mean, I think it's all fair, like special teams. Yeah, I like the special teams move, right? Like, and we'll talk about them. Like, in a vacuum, that's all great. It's just hard to not let the lack of other moves kind of cloud how you feel about the free agency as a whole, or just in this, specific part as far as the special teams and those moves that they made. I'll give you my word. My word is arrogant. And the reason I say arrogant is because you went 2 off seasons in a row not doing enough, right? On especially in the interior of the offensive line and to protect Justin Herbert. The first year, yeah, you were in salary cap hell. You had huge bloated contracts of aging veterans like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. They had to do a lot. They started out like $50 million over the cap. You get a pass from me, right? Last year, you have 2 great tackles. You don't get super involved early in free agency. You get Mekhi Becton a couple weeks into it, and then you're like, okay, well, I guess it's okay, but then you're running it back with Bradley Bozeman. You're saying maybe Zion Johnson is actually the center, right? And then we all saw how it played out, and maybe they just chalked that up to, okay, well, when we had Joe Alt, we were still pretty good. It's just because our tackles got hurt, whatever. To have $100 million going into this, Kenyon, and to see the deals that have been going out there, right? Where it's Isaiah Suamalo, $10 million or about that. David Edwards get $15 million. The one that killed me was Elgton Jenkins, man. Like, a former Pro Bowl left guard becomes available, and he doesn't count against the compensatory formula. And you can get him for the low cost of $12 million per season, so you can still save on what you had from Zion Johnson or what he ended up getting paid, and also probably get an improvement on him. That is why, to me, like, it screams arrogance. Yeah, I don't want to hear, Mike McDaniel doesn't care about guards in his system. I don't want to care about, okay, well, really, we have a center, so we have one upgrade there. To me, it had to be 2 big improvements on the interior offensive line in free agency and big investments to do that. So that's why, to me, it feels like there's a little bit of arrogance that's been involved with how they've approached things so far.
It makes me wonder. Like, there has to be, I don't even want to say it because in my mind, where's the plan? It doesn't seem like there is a plan. It doesn't seem like they had a list of guys laid out, ironed out. This is who we want to go after. This is who we're going to get. It just seems like we're kind of just floating. There's no sense of urgency at all. There hasn't been any move that is a game-changing move. Tyler, I like that. I like that at the center position.
I do too.
But I'm big on that. I like getting Khalil back. We've talked about getting Khalil back and what he brings to the table outside of.
That's supposed to be a bonus, though.
Huh?
That's supposed to be a bonus, though. I'm sorry.
Right. That's supposed to be like the cherry on top. Okay. Listen, we got our guy back. Then you go out and you lose Owe. You know what I'm saying? There's been nothing that we've been able to do outside of the center position. And again, I'm a special teams guy, right? So Josh Harris and Delshawn, I love that for the special teams aspect of the field. It's a forgotten area of the field, in my opinion, when we're talking about special teams. So I love what they did there. But when are you going to address what you need? Like, we need interior line, and we've really done nothing outside of the center position. I'm a little confused. I'm bewildered.
He's flummoxed.
That's another good. I'd like to co-opt that word with me, bewildered, on the way that I feel right now about this. And maybe, and I'll co-op on your arrogance too. Maybe these guys think that they see things in the combine that nobody else does. It's like, we're going to put young, healthy men up there. You may not know who they are, but we're going to put big, young, healthy men up there and see if that doesn't work out and put the money someplace else. I'm going to spin this back around on the rest of you now. Would you bail out this poor free agency if they sign AJ Brown? Then is everything okay if you sign AJ?
No, everything is not okay. That would help. That's a great addition. That's
a big deal. Yeah, it makes a splash.
Phenomenal. That is that game changer piece that I was just speaking about, right? So absolutely, that would help, but that still doesn't complete the puzzle.
Right.
That's like one course of the meal. We still need
taters.
Yeah, we need the side dishes, and we don't have any of that. So, signing one guy like an AJ Brown, yeah, that would bring some excitement. But then after that excitement wears off, you got to refocus in on what matters the most. And we still have not. We still exactly. Who is that? SoCal Chargers fan. What's the point of a receiver if Herbert has no time to throw? Correct. That's exactly the point. If once that excitement wears off, oh, we got AJ. How do we get him the ball now?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I think the other thing is too, is like, if the rumors are true, you have to trade a first round pick for AJ Brown, right? And obviously it's 3 days into free agency, but like there's like 3 different positions I feel like the Chargers have to take in the first round right now to feel good about their chances of being a better team in 2026, Rob. So I think that's kind of where some of this disconnect is doing. Yes, maybe it feels better if you have a splash trade. Like, would you feel differently had they gotten an Alec Pierce, right? Because they were rumored to have offered Alec Pierce even more than the Colts did. That's a rumor. Benjamin Albright had said that they supposedly had interest in Rashid Shaheed. We've heard them linked to AJ Brown. Does a splash make you feel any different?
So if you're talking Alec or you're talking, those aren't primary guys. Like, I love what Alec did. I've seen that. I've seen it. They're great. They're phenomenal players at what they do. But if you're going to go out and you're going to target a guy, a receiver, you want somebody that can be a go-to guy. You want somebody when all hell breaks loose and it hits the fan, I can throw this ball to this guy. He's going to go up and get it. That's not Alec. That's not Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed is more of a gadget guy, in my opinion. He's a guy that you put in when you want a deep ball. He's a guy that you put in when you want to run a reverse. Something like that's what Rashid Shaheed. He's a guy that you want the ball in his hands at the return position. Outside of that, those really wouldn't tickle my fancy. I'd be like, okay, that's good. That's okay. If you bring a Shaheed, that's an upgrade from a return standpoint. I like that. But those don't move the needle, right?
No, not to
it does in Seattle. He's back with the Seahawks, but the Seahawks fans can remember him taking that punt to the house against the Rams. They can remember a kickoff fan. I was at that game in Atlanta when he took the second half kickoff back. They don't remember him for catching long touchdowns because he only had like one of them. They got a JSN guy who's pretty good.
Exactly.
Who was a possession guy. So he's really a number 3 receiver.
He's the gadget guy.
Really good at special teams.
Totally. Rashid Shaheed is a momentum changing player. That's what Rashid Shaheed is. He's going to completely shift the moment, and that's what you need a guy like that, right? You need a guy that can completely change the dynamic of a game in a flash, and he's that guy.
Yeah, but he's not your endurance guy. He's your wow guy, is what he is, and you can't have wow all the time, as much as you'd like to.
No.
Well, yeah, and I think the thing is like, bland. What was Kenyon's answer? Like, I would have taken like average a lot of these positions had the Chargers kind of gone middle of the pack in the offensive guard market, or had they gone middle of the pack for someone who maybe brings something to their receiver room or whatever that is. I didn't necessarily even need a huge splash. I would have taken just something to feel good about. I'll take a 35-year-old Joel Bitonio and feel better than I do right now, but. We'll touch on the special teams here quickly before we get into the second segment. I do like what they did there. It's hard to kind of look at things separately when you have the whole free agency class kind of hanging over you. But I did think it was a good move, Jim, for the Chargers to bring some continuity back. I thought, getting Delshon Phillips back, who was their best special teamer last year, getting Josh Harris back after, Kenyon Barner's friend Rick Lovato had a couple of sketchy moments as a long snapper, and also bringing back Dean Leonard as your gunner. To have those guys in place, I think maybe gets rid of some of the slow start we saw from the special teams last season.
Yeah, and familiarity it helps too, because it makes everybody a little bit more comfortable. That includes us who are on the watching side of things. But I keep having to think about the draft and the talent evaluators that this team has assembled. And, you want to talk about what do you want to go all in on? I want to go all in on the belief that these guys can go out there and make magic out of this draft, that they can find the guys, they can find the Joe Alts, if you will. They can find guys like that. Maybe that was a little bit too obvious, but I mean, that kind of talent, if they can get that kind of value out of the draft, then you can spend that money on somebody like AJ Brown. Because you're talking about Alec Pierce. I know I'm backing up here a little bit, but you're talking about a guy like that. He doesn't take over games. AJ Brown takes over a game. And you know what? He would eat on this team because you're still going to run the ball. And that means you're still going to have their running game in place and doing what they want to. But man, this guy would really, really eat on this team. He's the alpha on the whole thing, So, I mean, I'm hopeful that that's where this is going. There's tons of great young talent out there. Let's go out there and fill these holes that we need with young, strong guys that we like, that we've evaluated talent on, and spend our money in very specific free agent spots.
When going back to the special teams aspect of it, the Josh signing, Delshawn, and Dean at the gunner spot. When you look at how special teams units are put together, these are primary backups on your offense and defensive units, right? So your backup linebackers, use some safeties, running backs, skill position guys, and like that. So these 3-4 particular signings are huge because you need guys designated specifically for special teams, but that can also step in and help in on offense and defense. So when you look at Delshawn, you look at Josh, these are guys that can absolutely contribute and help this team continue to push towards winning a championship, winning the division.
That's a great point for you to make, KB. A great point, because that's why the defense is so successful. The guys are all on the same page, and I'm backing up my guy when he's out and you come back in. And I mean, that's real team. That's real team success and construction is what that is. So, I mean, that's a great point that you make, bro.
And again, you're only going to have, for instance, when I played in Philadelphia, we had a guy by the name of Chris Maragos who was out of sight when it came, but that's all Chris did. Chris was specifically signed for special teams. I think he was making maybe $7 or $8 million just to play special teams. So when you look at Delshawn, he clearly is their guy, second team All-Pro this past season. So that is your special teams guy. Josh is your snapper. So there's going to be guys that you do sign that you're specifically, when it comes to that 53-man roster, you got 3 or 4 guys that are designated for it. They're going to be 4 core special teams guys. They're going to play all 4. No question about it. And so you have to have that. So from a special team standpoint, this is great. It's phenomenal. But let's get to what's actually going to help you win football games, and that's that offensive line.
You're right. 100% you're right. I mean, that's the frustration. It's like doing all these things had you taken care of. And like we talked about before, if you had eaten your vegetables, I wouldn't care so much, about all the ice cream that you're eating. But you had to eat the vegetables. And I felt like the Chargers, when you're in on Alec Pierce and you're in on Rashid Shaheed, it's like, okay, that's fine. Like I love sugar too, right? But that's not what builds a strong, growing boy. You need the vegetables. You need to do the things that you have to build that solid foundation. And for God's sakes, protect Justin Herbert, right? Who's worth $250 million, and that's the investment you made in him. And you're a team that always continues to talk about, we care about offensive linemen. Offensive linemen are weapons. We are a trenches team. But then the actions keep on not backing it up. And there are still things they can do, but it just feels like that the options are running out, which is what makes it so frustrating as far as legitimate options to help this team and be improvements for them, which was an incredibly low bar. And they haven't made it yet. It is day 3 right now. And I think one part of free agency that people are forgetting about are the things that they did beforehand, right? That still counts. Getting Tyler Biadasz counts. Getting an Alec Ingold counts. All of those things happen before, though, and they feel further and further away the more the Chargers don't do in free agency.
You want that stuff done on the back end, because as we're going out the door, you're going to go, that too. Oh, and that too. Yeah, and that. Okay, great. Yeah, not first.
Right. No, exactly.
Quenching about this.
No, exactly. And that's why I think where the frustration is coming from for a lot of Chargers fans right now. So we're going to get into Tyler Biadasz signing because I do like that one a lot. We're going to talk about what bringing Khalil Mack means for this team and more on today's Locked On Chargers Squad Show. First, though, I need to tell you guys about 5 Hour Energy, my go-to, and welcome now to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number 1 pick for the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft, and I can tell you what it is right now. It is going to be Confetti Craze. Delicious blend of rich and buttery, freshly baked confetti cake, smooth vanilla frosting, and a sprinkle of sweetness in every sip. When I need something to get me going, I don't want something super sugary either. That is the great thing, is because with 5 Hour Energy, you get the flavor with 0 sugar. And in this case in particular, Confetti Craze birthday cake can be too sweet. And I'm impressed by the fact that the sweetness of the Confetti Craze is actually really balanced out by the buttery cake part of it. And it was a really close race for me. In second place was the classic strawberry banana, sweet strawberry flavor up front. Then it comes back around to give you that nice mellowness of the banana. That is what I love about 5 Hour Energy. There's so many different flavors to choose from, and you can go find your new favorite 5 Hour Energy flavor shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. All right, guys, we still have more to get into here, including some of the good stuff, right? There's been a lot of negativity going around, Rob, and I think that it's hard to remember that technically the Chargers did some good things in free agency that got people excited. It just happened before the opening bell rang for this NFL tampering period, which seems more and more kind of convoluted as far as what is tampering. Why don't we just open it up on Monday and let people go sign with whoever they want? Because that's the way it seems anyways.
Yeah.
But the Chargers did some good things beforehand, and I thought did eat some of their vegetables before the opening bell rang, including bringing in Tyler Biadasz, which to me, as far as external players they've brought in so far, he is a home run, especially at the price they got him for. That I still really like, and I don't want to let that part of it get away with my frustrations with what's happened since then.
Yeah, again, as far as centers go, I mean, we talked about this last time that we had a show. McGovern, winds up re-signing, with Buffalo. Linderbaum was the guy everybody wanted, winds up, going to the Raiders. I mean, have fun with that.
$27 million a season, Rob.
Look, I'd work for the Raiders for $27 million, not 25. I'm rich enough, but 27 would probably push things, over the top and do that. But yeah, Biadasz is nice. Like I said, not really that sexy thing, but I agree with what some of the people wrote earlier too. If you don't have time to throw the ball, and I mentioned this, to the KB once on a show, I said, this is from a guy whose dad played O-line at Wisconsin. He always used to tell me, if you do not give the quarterback time to throw, he's going to wind up on his backside. And if you do not open up holes, your running back has nowhere to go. My dad played high school ball with a guy named Al Amici, the Iron Horse, who won the Heisman Trophy in Wisconsin back in '52 and stuff, and said, you need someone to open holes, create time. And this game is won with the time you allow your quarterback and your running backs to cook, your receivers to catch. You can't do it so quickly, man. I mean, I'm not all for 2.3 seconds. If you're getting rid of the ball in 2.3 seconds, that just means your line isn't doing good enough time. You don't need 12 seconds. You need more than 2.3 seconds to do it. You also need a good pass rush. Look at some of the guys who've been paid. Look at who we've been talking about. Crosby, Hendrickson, all those guys there. It's the pass rush, because if you can disrupt the quarterback, you can get in his kitchen, you're going to be fine. And if you can keep him out of your kitchen, you're going to be fine. I don't know, man. I would put the money in the line, not make the fans too happy with this and that until they see the results. I would get a marginal quarterback, a marginal running back, a decent receiver, decent tight end, and an amazing line. Look how the Cowboys have at least been able to be somewhat successful in a playoff team with garbage around it there, because Dak has time all day to throw the ball, and he turns guys like Pickens into a superstar when he was nothing but a chump, when he was in Pittsburgh. And CeeDee Lamb's obviously awesome, but look, man, that's made because he has time to do it. Pickens has tripled his career just by going to Dallas, because he has more time and a better line. He has more time and a better line, and you take the pressure.
He was a dog in Pittsburgh, Rob.
Yeah, he was a dog in Pittsburgh. He was in the dog house in Pittsburgh is what he was. At least he went to Dallas and said, CD's got a bigger ego than me, so that actually helped him out, man. It's about being at the right place at the right time.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I mean, look at Bo Nix, man. Like, the Broncos would have made the Super Bowl, right? Like, I don't think Bo Nix, and credit to Bo Nix, I don't want this to come off wrong. Like, he made some throws in that game against the Bills where he had to prove it, and he did, right? But the reason that the Broncos were what they were offensively is because they had one of the best offensive lines in the league. To Rob's point, right? Like, Jalen Hurts, obviously Super Bowl MVP. Look what happens when their line isn't what it was in that season, right? Look at the regression that they had this year. And it starts with the offensive line. And that is the funny thing about the Chargers fan base, man. Like, most fan bases would be clamoring for an Alec Pierce. Most fan bases would be all in on an A.J. Brown trade, right? This fan base just wants offensive linemen, man. Like, they don't need the sexy positions. They want offensive linemen. But I'm interested in your perspective, Kenyon, as far as the center position specifically, having played running back in the NFL, being a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Getting him in this system feels huge because it feels like what you need in a Shanahanian, Mike McDaniel, even some Sean McVay rooted systems is you need that center that can go up and hit guys at the second level, that can get around the corner quickly, who can hit his landmarks when he needs to, and just be a really solid player in the middle. And obviously they're showing you they don't care about as much about who's at guard, but how important was that for them to get the center position right, especially with what they've had the last couple of years?
There was nothing more important up to this point than getting the center right. We seen it last year. We talked about Bozeman as much as you can talk about anybody, from the fan base to us. Getting the center position right, that is the biggest piece of this puzzle. If you don't have a center, you don't have anything. I'm gonna always point to who I played with in Philadelphia and Jason Kelce. Outside of Carson Wentz, outside of Nick Foles, it all started with Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce was the motor. Jason Kelce was the brains of the offensive line, being able to get everybody in the right position, being able to get the point identified, get everybody aligned, knowing where to go and what to do. And so once you have the center of your offense, because everybody says the most important position on the field is your quarterback. And that's true to a certain extent, because I don't care who you have. You could have Tom Brady back there, but if you got a wet paper towel for an offensive line, Tom Brady is going to end up looking like Brady Leaf. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter. In my opinion, the offensive line as a unit is the most important foundational piece on a football team. And it starts with your center, and then it goes out to your tackles. Then you come back inside to your guards. So this was huge. It was absolutely imperative that Hortiz and Harbaugh and McDaniels got this right. And I do believe that they got it right, because Tyler is a dog. He's an absolute animal on the field. He has the speed. He has the agility. He has the ability to get out on the edge. He can climb to the second level. He finishes his blocks, pancakes, and he's aggressive. He's dirty. He's grimy. And I don't want to say dirty in the sense of he's a dirty player, but he's not afraid to do the dirty work. Right. Yeah. And so that's what you need from a center. You need somebody who's going to be a tone setter at your center position. And I think we got that.
Is he smart? Does he have a good IQ for football? How many centers have you been around that have low IQs for football? None, because they're not going to.
They can't play that position.
You have to have a smart. It doesn't matter where you're at. We all know this guy named Matthew Stafford, right? Quarterback for the Rams. Who was Stafford? It's a trivia question. I'll be surprised if you fellas pull this out. Who was his high school center when he was in high school?
High school center.
Yeah, a guy named Clayton Kershaw. That Clayton
what?
Kershaw for the Dodgers.
You think about how many times I've heard that they were high school
center,
teammates. I should know that. Yeah.
Highland Park in Dallas. They put those two guys out who did pretty well. And there's a golfer named Scotty Scheffler. He's pretty good from that same, school as well, too. But Clayton Kershaw was the brains of that, and Stafford's the arm and the athleticism of that. You need a smart guy doing that. And Kershaw, as much as I'm a Giants fan, Kershaw's one of the smartest guys in baseball, has been for years. Yeah. And I've interviewed him. I want him to give me a hard time. Nothing but a class act every time. Damn it, he pisses me off every time I talk. Can't you be mean one time?
Jim, what do you think?
I like watching Rob suffer. I like
that. Back to back, probably again.
I'm also surprised you didn't know that, KB. I mean, I guess
I did not know that.
I'm Dodger guy, so I've heard that stuff for a long time.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you imagine what their high school reunion is like?
No, I can't.
Legendary.
No. I'm tired of hearing about it, though, on every broadcast. Did you know Clayton Kershaw and Matthew Stafford went to high school together? I've heard it enough. Jim, the Chargers also brought back Khalil Mack.
Oh.
They didn't get it off AOA, which we'll talk about, but they brought back Khalil Mack, and I think it's huge. Like, you really could not give yourself a chance where you ended up losing Owe and Mack going into this, right? So I think for the Chargers to get that figured out, if without Khalil Mack right now, you're talking about Tuli Tuipulotu and who else? Like Bud Dupree, who hasn't been great. You're talking about Kyle Kennard, who got a redshirt season and was unplayable for them last year. Chargers had to get this done, for more reasons than what shows up in the stat sheet for me, for sure. But I'm a little bullish on the signing. Like, I truly think Khalil Mack could be getting back to a close to 10 sack guy in 2026.
Yeah, you know what? I knew we were going to lose Adafe. He was too good. It was time to get paid, and he did. I mean, he landed that great big contract, like he deserves. He played for it. Tuli, we love Tuli, what he did and helped us last year. But you know what? The glue that helps hold the model together is Khalil Mack. I mean, he leads in so many different ways, in experience, in the locker room, on the practice field, in the division, depending on who we're playing from week to week. I think it's an incredibly important sign for this guy, the glue that really is going to keep this defense together, hold it together, find out who the new stars are, trust them, and let them do their job. I was really pleased to see that they made that really, really smart combination on the field and in the locker room move by bringing him back. Really, really critical, I think.
The defense huddles too. It's not just offense. And when the defense huddles, who's everybody looking at? Who's calling out the shots in that? It's not Derwin. Okay, Derwin's like, hey, let me get back to my area and float around here and play center field. Sure. It's Khalil Mack is who it is. And what, the 13 years now for him. I mean, this guy almost 13 years at that type of position. You're not talking 13 years as a punter. Okay, 13 years at that position. This guy almost deserves to call a shot, go out on his own terms, and let's just hope we get him for a couple more years, and he can raise to the level.
Yeah. When you get a guy like Khalil Mack back in your locker room, like I said, it's much bigger than just the X's and O's, right? Mm-hmm. This is a guy who's been around the block 1,000 times. This is a guy who's seen everything that an offensive line can throw at him, and an offensive line coach and offensive coordinator can throw, because he's been schemed against. He's been the guy that you had to, okay, where's 52 on the field? Locate him, put the back to his side, chip on your way out. I don't care what your route is. That's the kind of player that Khalil Mack is. But with that, it's the knowledge, it's the wisdom, it's the experience, it's the likability that he carries and that everybody in that locker room draws to. So it's much bigger than what he brings onto the field. It's about having, again, a centerpiece, right, that brings everybody collectively together, that everybody can turn to in a time of need when everything is getting hot, bothered, and hitting the fan. You have that guy who's been through the fire. He's been through it all. And when you lose Odafe, right, now that opens up something else on the opposite end. And so getting Khalil Mack back was imperative. Again, this was something that you had to do, because now if you lose Odafe and then you lose Khalil, again, now you're really battling up, floating up blank creep, trying to get there. Yeah. So this was huge. It was crucial. It was important. And I'm glad that he's back.
And he's not only a good guy to have in the locker room. He's played for 3 teams now, and his career's probably split up pretty evenly with a third, wouldn't it be? With the Raiders, the Bears, and when you get the chart, it's not like he's one and done. Why did the guy leave after 1 year? He's a cancer in the clubhouse. When do you hear bad people or people talk badly about Khalil Mack? We work in this business. We know people in all those markets there. Never heard a bad word, spoken about the guy. And that stuff, that's an intangible, man. You can't put a price on that. To have a guy like that brings some togetherness, continuity, and keeps the locker room from getting out of control.
Well, I've seen him do it, contrary to the last comment, wasted money. I've seen him do it. Yeah, go get somebody in the combine, put him in there. He might be the exact same physical size, but is he going to pull off and give you the same result? Roll the dice, bro, and see. But this guy, I don't have to roll the dice on.
Exactly.
I know what I'm getting for my money. All I got to do is keep this guy in the field, and I got my money's worth.
Health is a big part, when he's getting up there in age either way, but it's about health and him being able to be available game in and game out. But to that last comment, that it was a mistake, here you have to understand how the NFL works. When it comes to what you have in-house, you're not guaranteed to find something that is equal to or maybe a little bit less than. So you have to pay what you have access to. You know what you're getting with Khalil Mack. You know what he brings to the table. You know what he's going to do on Sundays. And to JD's point, I can go to the draft and get somebody, right? And now we're basing all of this off of potential. And in my opinion, I hate potential because potential is based on the individual. And if the individual doesn't want to work, you're never gonna see the fruition of it. So you know what you have in Khalil. So the money that was given to him, he's earned that. Over the course of his career, he's earned that dollar amount. He's earned that number. So it's not a waste, because you're getting more than just the X's and O's of the football game. You're getting everything that all of us have been talking about here. And when it comes to winning, oftentimes the things off the field matter just as much as the things that a player does on the field. So it's not a waste. Just understand how the game works.
I totally agree with you.
It's the 90% mental thing, right, KB?
You said what?
It's the 90% mental thing, right?
Right.
The game.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with all that. And this is the other thing. People are jaded, I think, because of the missed time and because the counting stats are not going to really show you that he only played in 12 games, right? Because I'll tell you this. If I told you there was a free agent out there that on true pass sets, which takes out all screens and quick passes and stuff like that, was 18th in pass rush win percentage and was 7th in true pass sets when it comes to sacks, hits, and hurries per pass rush snap, you'd be very willing to throw $20 million at him in free agency. That man is Khalil Mack. Show him some respect, because you take his stats, you take the 39 pressures he has, and you take out one freak injury against the Raiders where he basically had someone fall on him and snapped his arm at the elbow. You're talking about a guy that would have had around 55 to 60 pressures, which would have put him right around top 15 in the league. The man can still play. The leadership, the standard that he sets is all great, but let's not, show some disrespect to what the player he still is, because there's a reason they went and got Adafeowe is because Khalil Mack got hurt. They still need a third guy there, but Khalil Mack is still playing at a high level. But we're going to talk about some other guys who are still that the Chargers added. We haven't talked about yet. Alec Ingold, Charlie Kolar, Cole Strange, which I have something to talk with Kenyon Barner about specifically with that. But we have a lot more to get into on today's Locked On Chargers Squad Show and more coming up. First, though, I need to tell you guys about FanDuel, because right now it's about to be the best time to be betting on sports of any time of the year, because college basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late night shootouts on the West Coast. FanDuel is now giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential payout, because right now with FanDuel, you can build any college hoops parlay that you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside. And for me, I'm a casual college basketball watcher. I can admit that right now, but March, it's the best time, right? There's so many games. We have the conference championships tournaments coming up right now. Wall-to-wall action and so many Cinderella stories and upsets and all the great stuff that comes along with this season when it comes to college basketball, and FanDuel is the place that you're going to want to be placing your bet. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. All right, boys, we still have more to get into. We've only talked about a couple of the new additions that the Chargers got. Let's touch on Alec Ingold, their new fullback. Again, something I think that is probably more important in this system with Mike McDaniel and what they're trying to put together. And, this is the thing. I'm very happy with the way this team has tried to improve the running game, and that is something that you can see a clear focus on. When you're talking about Alec Ingold, you're talking about Charlie Kolar, you're talking about Tyler Biadasz, all of these guys help there. And Rob, I'll start with you here. What did you think of the Alec Ingold move? I know fullbacks are not very much in vogue right now, but it does feel like it was a very targeted move by their new offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel.
Big fan of Ingold, blue-collar guy. Even with the cool stuff you saw about him on Hard Knocks, in the family, where it kind of takes you behind the scenes with some of the players. Come on, you're asking me a biased question. I told you earlier, my old man played at Wisconsin. Ingold played at Wisconsin, okay? That's why I like Russell Wilson until he married that second chick, and his career went to hell. But aside from that, come on, man. Come on. I like him. Like I said, just he's a guy. Who's the guy that used to play for the Patriots? That running back they had that was that reminds me a little bit. Ingold was a fullback.
A fullback or running back?
I think he was a fullback.
Because off the top of my head, if you're thinking, I know they had that German dude who was some other international player in some other sports, and they ended up having
maybe Ingold like a Mike Allstott as well. Not as big frame wise as Allstott, but a valuable guy in a piece like that. And you need a good fullback to carry the ball, 5, 6, 7 times, and you need to spell it when Hampton's over there after he's been getting winded for having so many reps out there. But no, I like what he brings, and I liked it again. He's not a rookie. He's a guy who's been in one place for a while, and I think he's gonna bring something to that backfield and that room that they have there. One other guy, by the way, too, we didn't talk about. I don't know if you saw earlier, and did it really move the needle with you? Because we're so worried about Slater and all. How are they going to be health wise? We re-signed Pipkins today. So if you saw, Trey comes back as well. He's a swing guy that will get some moves in and stuff. Of course it's going to be Slater and all, but that's still nice. One extra body. Let's put it that way. When someone goes down, because inevitably somebody will.
A body.
Yeah. It's a body. Okay, so you'll just leave it at that, a body.
A warm body. Kenyon, I think you can definitely get a games. No, for sure. He has. I think with the obviously, but we'll talk about Trey Pipkins a little bit. I think with the injuries that your tackles are coming back from, I hope that maybe they would have invested a little bit more into it. Maybe would have went outside of the building to find someone to be that guy. But they feel good about his play at right tackle specifically and the way they do things. Whereas if Rashawn Slater gets hurt, Joe Alt moves to left tackle, right? So for to need a backup left tackle, you need both of the starters basically to get hurt the way that they have it set up right now schematically. But I know if there's anyone that can get us excited about a fullback, Kenyon, I'm leaning on you, buddy. Give me a reason to get excited about Alec Ingold, please.
I must simply say this. When was the last time that the Chargers actually had a true fullback?
No, that's the thing. And I agree. I mean, it's Lorenzo Neal, right? Is
Lorenzo
that
Neal, right?
Jacob Hester, maybe, but it's Lorenzo Neal in my mind.
Yeah, Neal.
And,
That's the Neal. Yeah.
and so what this says to me and why this excites me as a running back, this tells me that you want to be a physical run team, right? That's what your fullback is for. Your fullback is to go in there, lead block, knock people on their behinds, clean up the mess, step in pass protection. If your running back is struggling in pass pro, you got your fullback that can step in and do that. I play with a guy by the name of Mike Tolbert. And Mike Tolbert was the former Charger. Yeah. He was the hybrid athlete that you wanted at a fullback position, the dude that you could run power with, but you could also run mid-zone with him, a guy that can catch the ball extremely well, but a guy that can block better than anybody that we had on the roster. So when you talk about a fullback, but that's what you're expecting. You're expecting a guy to come in and kind of be the hammer. Not kind of, let me say it correctly. You're expecting him to come in and be the hammer on power plays, lead plays, whatever it is. You're expecting their fullback to go lay hat on somebody. So I'm excited about that for Omarion Hampton and for whoever else may be coming after him, because now you actually, the identity of what this offense may be is slowly coming to the picture. We're slowly being able to see this. And so I'm excited.
It's also accelerated too, KB, because who was his coach in Miami?
Mike.
Right. And where's Mike now?
Right there.
Yeah. I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'll pile on with this and you can move on. Is familiarity is a great thing to add to this, because this is somebody who already understands the direction that this offense wants to go, and that's going to help McDaniel and the whole offense. So
yeah.
And to add on to that, when you have a guy, right, who's been in this system, who knows the system inside and out, imagine the help that he's going to be to Omarion Hampton, who's now learning a new season. Basically, not a rookie, but you're a rookie still, right? You're still trying to learn the game at the NFL level, trying to figure out how to play the game at the level. Now you're learning from the playbook that you learned last season, learning a completely new system. So this is huge for the development mentally of Omarion Hampton in this new system. So we talked about this multiple times, and we use this word a lot when we talked about what the Chargers were doing, continuity. And when you bring a guy like that in, that's speaking to continuity and being able to help your guys come along and catch up to the curve that they'll have to learn at.
As the great Lorenzo Neal once told LaDainian Tomlinson, now what I hope Alec Ingold tells to Omarion Hampton: get on my hip, don't dip.
Get on my hip. Get on my hip.
That's what it is, man. And I know I like it. And the thing is, like, there's something about having a fullback play fullback. You know, no hate towards Scott Matlock, but man, they spent 2 years on a project defensive tackle trying to, cosplay as a fullback for the most part, right? And like, I just didn't seem like that was the right move then. And it feels like now, okay, let's get a fullback that actually knows where he's supposed to be, know where he has to line up on every single play, and get a fullback who's a fullback, right? And just a fullback. So not great news for Scott Matlock, but I think good news for the Chargers running game. And I also think good news for the Chargers running game is Charlie Kolar not going to woo a bunch of people. This is a signing I really liked. I like Charlie Kolar's game a little bit, coming from the Ravens. 3-year, $24 million deal, Rob. But, like, it's not the sexy one, right? It's definitely the eating the vegetables part of free agency. Not a sexy pick when it's a guy who hasn't had more than 10 receptions in a season. But I actually am a fan of this move.
Yeah, again, it's a platoon guy. I mean, yeah, you can be a fan of it. I mean, I don't have a reason not to like it. But again, where's that splash, that we're looking for?
Sure.
I want to ask you. Look, you do a daily show, and you do a great job of the day. You have a finger on the pulse of free agency, probably more than the other three of us do, because you're in it all the time. Are we too late? I know you said AJ Brown earlier. Technically, Max Crosby's still available. He's unemployed, right? I mean, because the Raiders don't want him. So you got something out there now that deal fell through.
I'd love
you got
that.
This money. You got something happen. Okay, or did we arrive and all the hot girls are taken and we're left with the fat, ugly ones at the dance?
That's a great question. I mean, there's no reason not to. I like, okay. And we'll talk. We're going to talk about Cole Strange coming up too in the next segment, and we'll talk about just kind of why I'm upset about that one. But I think for me, like, Charlie Kolar is just someone that's going to fit well with Oronde Gadsden for the next few seasons. And that's what it is to me, right? Like, getting a good pair so that you're not needing Oronde Gadsden to be the physical fullback lead blocker moved, tight end that has to go pick off guys at the second level. You can use Rondé Gadsden at what he's good at, Kenyon, and then you can use Charlie Kohler, the Kohler Bear, the Kohler Express at what he's good at, right? Which is doing things on the move, letting the scheme kind of dictate him getting open and getting some easy looks and being a little bit underrated after the catch. I understand it's definitely not a sexy pick, and it's hard not to, it's hard to really take this move and look at it just on its own without thinking about the moves that they haven't made, but it's a move that I like.
It's again bland. It's not something that's gonna get you up out of your seat, get you clapping your hands, screaming at the top of your. This isn't what this signing is. When you talk about the pairing of those two, with pairing with Rondé Gadsden, my only concern is that now you become predictable in what you want to do, right? If you're going to specifically use Rondé as your pass catching tight end on pass catching downs or whatever it is, and you're only going to lose Kohler for your run blocking, what is the plan for these guys, right?
Yeah.
Because Rondé's not a terrible blocker, right? He's effective. He can get it done. He's a great pass catcher. He's a former basketball player, can play the game like a basketball player. He gives you that kind of Antonio Gates feel. Now, don't get me wrong. Before everybody jumps and goes out, I'm not saying he is Antonio Gates.
You heard it.
He just said.
Clip it, post it.
Yeah,
we got news.
What did he say?
From the basketball standpoint, okay, let's be clear. Big body guy can go up and catch the ball, box somebody out. Hasn't quite gotten there yet, but what is the plan? And so if you had the opportunity to get, if you're not confident in Rondé Gadsden, right? And when you bring a guy like Kohler in, one who, in my opinion, can do it all. He can run, he can catch, he can block, he can do it all. Are you telling me that you're not confident in Rondé put on film? And if that's the case, then why not go attack somebody that can be the guy and not have to do it by committee?
Yeah, I think that's fair. No, I think that's totally fair. The problem
is that you struck gold with Gadsden last year. It's like, okay, move on. I mean, why is this? Why is this such a focal point early on? I mean, I want the money and the attention and stuff spent somewhere else. You struck gold with that last year, so much so that you cut somebody loose here just about a month ago to make room, and then right away go back and address that. I don't know that that's even something that needs to be looked at in a top 10 list of things that you want to be paying attention to as far as personnel goes for this Charger team. It's like, are you kidding? That was like one of the first things I heard. I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? Come on. Center. That's the only thing I want to hear out of you first. After that, you can start playing around. But I mean, tight end, really?
And here's the thing: you gave the guy $24 million. You gave him $24 million, so he's going to play, right? Right. You're not paying a guy $24 million to come sit on your bench.
Right.
So he's going to see significant amount of playing time. In my opinion,
wasted money. You want wasted money? There's money.
There it is. Okay. I'll say this: the Ravens have another. They had another tight end, the guy who plays a lot and catches ball all the time. What's his name?
Isaiah Likely.
No, it was
Andrews.
Yeah. Get him. Then color me impressed.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe that's where a lot of it.
I want Andrews, and you can have a 7th round pick in 29.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I mean, I think that Rondé Gadsden was always going to be like Darren Waller had a great resurgent season coming out of retirement and still put up, 6 touchdowns last year in limited games. But they used a lot of other guys. He didn't have 75 targets, right? Like Rondé Gadsden, for what Mike McDaniel asks his tight ends to do, was always going to be a little bit of a questionable fit. And that is how it goes now, where it's like, okay, now you have to find a way to use both these guys. Are you going to run a ton of heavy sets? You're going to run a ton of 2 tight end sets and try to get your mismatches that way. But they're telling you how important they think it is. So I think it just comes to, do you give Mike McDaniel the benefit of the doubt because you know that he's in Joe Hortiz's ear? And this is the first move they made once the tampering period began, which I think it's fine to be skeptical of, because I'm definitely skeptical of it with Cole Strange for sure. Just getting a guy because he knows a guy.
I got to tell myself, if this is what Mike McDaniel wanted first, okay, because you know more about this than I do, probably more than all of us collectively do. And if that's what you think is the most important thing first, okay. But
I can't say okay,
damn it, by the end of the month, you
can't.
better have this offensive line figured out.
I can't
Save
say okay.
Save this, because I have an I'm totally on board with you guys, but the one that gets me more than that is Cole Strange, because I can watch football too, and you can't tell me that dude was good at football last year. And just because he was Mike McDaniel's right guard, that was one of the other first moves they made in free agency. So we're going to air out the rest of this dirty laundry, and if they should have resigned guys like a Zion Johnson or an Odafe Owe, and more in today's Locked On Chargers Squad Show. One of the things that made the daily Locked On Chargers show this week was me talking about loyalty and thinking about Kenyon last week on the squad show when he said, hey, it's great that, Joe Hortiz is going to getting guys that Jesse Minter likes. It is great, that he wants to be involved and let Greg Roman have a say in who they bring in. But sometimes you have to be the adult in the room and realize that you're the boss and go do things that are best for the team and not rely so much on just guys who other guys know. When I think of that, the move that made me think of it was the Cole Strange move, who's the Chargers' starting right guard right now, 2 years, $13 million deal, around $9 million in potential guarantees in that contract. Right now, he slots in as the Chargers' starting right guard, and his numbers last year in many ways were comparable to Mekhi Becton's, which is this is the easiest bar for them to overcome. If all you had to do at right guard was to do better than Mekhi Becton, and you can't fully say that with your chest and mean it, Kenyon, it just made me think of what you said last week, man, where it's like, I want Mike McDaniel to be a part of the search, but then he goes and gets someone like a Cole Strange, who was his right guard last year, but statistically was one of the worst guards in the league. And it makes me think back, maybe this is an opportunity for Joe Hortiz where he should have been the adult in the room and like, hey, I'll find somebody else that I think fits your system, but we're not going to get this guy just because he's your guy.
Listen, I've turned into the PFF guy, of Locked On. That's immediately where I go to when it comes to offensive linemen, D linemen. That's immediately where I go because I want to see where you stack up against the other guys at your position. And so we were on Mekhi Becton about being dead last, bottom of the barrel, run, pass, just terrible, right? Terrible year. Cole Strange is not that much better, people. He's not that much better. He overall grade was a 54.9, ranking him 58th. You mean to tell me you couldn't go get anybody better? That's the number one move you wanted to make. And then when you go pass blocking grade, it gets worse than that. It's a 42.2. Run blocking is a 57, giving him 75th out of 81 guards and 51st out of 81 guards. So again, what are we doing? What is the plan? It's not truly nepotism, but it's like frienditism.
It's in the family.
No
pun intended. Yeah.
I'm friends with you. I like you. You're a good guy. And a lot of that goes on in the NFL, right? You get cool with the GM. You get cool with the offensive line coach. You get cool with the OC. And they like you as a person, so they keep you around, right? They keep giving you opportunities. And I'm not mad at that. But listen, we're trying to win a Super Bowl championship. We're trying to win the AFC. This is what we're trying to do. And this signing does not say to me, we're winning. This is a mid-level guy. This is mid-level to below average dude. You know what I'm saying? So what about his play from last season said that this would be the answer at our guard position, right? And so in my opinion, based off of what we've done in the first 3 days in free agency, it's still early. A lot can happen, but you pay this guy $13 million. You have to address these guard positions, in my opinion, through the draft, because all the good guys that are available, they're gone. That's how free agency works. It's tiers. It's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, then everybody else gets signed as we get to the tail end of free agency. So your first 3 days, your first week, all your top tier guys are going to be gone, and all you're going to be left with is to deal with whoever's left. So what if I would love to be a fly on the wall in these organization meetings, and I would love to hear what Ortiz's plan is. I would love to hear what's the thought process behind this, because in my opinion, again, this is no better than Mekhi Becton. And maybe he has a standout year and balls out of control here in the with the Chargers. I would be happy for that. But at the end of the day, I just don't see how this move, again, truly moves the needle for the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I agree on that. And that's the part that can be frustrating. And I mean, going back to this, like where it's like the Chargers could trade back. They could draft 2 guards. They could have 2 rookie guards that are competing to start.
I don't think they can afford to trade out, JD or D Wade. I don't think they can afford to trade out with that first pick, because you need somebody that's going to be able to step in and make an impact right away. Like it has to be that you. I just don't see how you trade out of that first round spot with what you've done in the first 3 days of free agency. We talked about this. We said based on how you handled free agency would determine how you moved into the draft.
Yeah.
You've done nothing to solidify the offensive line outside of that center position. So, in my opinion, I don't think you can afford to trade back and potentially lose out on somebody that could be a game-changing guard. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and the thing is, you got to win now.
Yeah.
JD, you got to win now. Like we're going to let the 2026 season and the Chargers potentially getting their first playoff win since like 2018 in the hands of 2 starting rookie guards when you had $100 million in cap space. What are we talking about? It shouldn't come down to that.
We would like to think that this window of opportunity for this Charger team is 10 years wide. You know, Justin Herbert going to be here for a long time. You better do it, and you better do it now, because you're right here. You're right on the edge. You were right there last year. A little bit of bad luck last year, and you might have been, actually with a little bit of good luck, you might have been in the Super Bowl last year because of all the stumbling that went on all over the AFC, including the representative there in that said Super Bowl. So now is the time to absolutely get this right. I like what Bone Hugs was saying about, yeah, maybe they wait and they get a couple of real good gems out of the draft. Again, maybe they know better than we do. They see a lot of talent there. They know what they're going to get in the first couple of picks. But that first pick better be what they need an interior offensive line, because nothing is more important than that, because it is time to win now. You do have everything. Khalil Mack, I mean, yeah, I believe in him in another year. How much am I going to believe in him next year? Yeah, maybe still, but not as much as I do this year. This is the year. Now is the time. Everything in place. We don't need a year of seasoning under the McDaniels system. Now is the time. Get it done. Go find that wide receiver. Go find that center and get it done. Now is the time. You know, commit to us. Tell us, Spanos, is now the time. Really commit to it. Spend the money. Spend over the cap. Pay the fine. Let's see you really go after that Super Bowl. Now is the time.
Yeah, and I get it. And that's the thing. That's why I said arrogant early on. Like, maybe you don't think guards are important in this system, but like, can you risk it? Can you risk it?
You can't risk it. You can't.
Can you risk it? Like you know what? You know what I know? Good players and good offensive lines usually lead to good offense. And maybe I'm just scarred by the Greg Roman experience, but at the same time, like, you let Zion Johnson walk, right? You let Odafe Owe walk. And this is the thing, Jem. Yeah, you could try to say, hey, we need to take an offensive lineman in round 1. When you have $100 million in cap space, Rob, like, you shouldn't be pigeonholing yourself into having to take a position in round 1. And right now, you don't have the future of the offensive line, and you don't have the future of the edge room on your team right now, where it's like, you could say, hey, we have to take interior offensive line in round 1. It kind of feels like you need an edge rusher with the future in round 1 right now. And that's a bad place to be. And you have $60 million left in salary cap space right now to do what with? So, like, that's my big thing is, like, why are we saying we have to take a position in round 1 right now when you had all this time and money to make sure that wasn't the case?
Yeah, and when you guys look at the draft this year, the guards aren't the big hitting spots. It's the tackles that are. And last I checked, we're fine. I mean, look, Utah's got 2 guys that are probably going to go in the top 10, those 6'6" kids. You know, the 2 of them there, the kid from Miami, the guy from Georgia as well there, too. This is a good draft. You know, for wide receivers, whether it's Mekhi Lemon at SC, Carnell Tate, Tyson, but like the other people have said, if you don't have time to throw the receivers the ball, what are you going to do? Who's left out there, free agent wise, offensive guard wise? Because we can't be, you know, content with what we have right now. I mean, we've beaten this horse to death here, but
it might only be ugly girls left, Rob.
That's what I'm saying.
It's big girls in the back of the party.
Hey, shout out to the big girls. Big girls need love too. But that's
big
the point, though.
They do.
You had all the money.
You can find a gym. Big girls work harder.
Voluptuous big girl.
We've all dated a bit. We've all dated a top when the big girls work harder.
There's nothing wrong with the big girl, but damn it, I want the choice of the big girl, right? I want to come to the big girl of my own choosing, of my own free will. I don't want to just.
They gonna kill us.
I love a big girl. I'll say it. You know what I'm saying? I'll say it. That's not the problem, though. I want the choice. And when you have $100 million and you show up, like, That's like showing up to the Gucci store or any of these places. You show up to get clothes and they're like, hey, this is what you're getting. It's like, no, I don't want to be told I have to get that. I have $100 million. I want to get whatever the hell I want to get.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to have to be pigeonholed into doing one thing or another because of these salary, like when you didn't have the salary cap restraints. There's $63 million left. The options left to answer your question, Rob. Joe Bitonio, right, who's great, has been, an all-pro player. I would take him even at age 35, but he's age 35. It's not answering, And we're running an offense now that you want a ton of movement and things like that. Maybe not the best for someone who's 35. You have Chris Paul from the Commanders last year, who's a great pass protector, and I would settle for that because I think when you're signing a run blocking tight end, when you're signing a fullback to help, when you're signing a center, I'm okay with having one guy who can't run block if he's an excellent pass protector, which is what Chris Paul was. And then there's guys like Wyatt Teller, who's kind of a shell of himself, and a bunch of other flawed options, and that's kind of the hole that they've dug for themselves.
All I heard.
I want to ask you a question, KB. We consider this. I think a layman would look and say that tackles move more when you're playing, right? They got to protect more of the edge, the blind side, the whole thing right there. Can you get away with a 35-year-old and hide that more? I would think as an interior guard than you could an offensive tackle, someone on the outside. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, the edges of your offensive line, you got to solidify that, right? You have to have standing. Right. You have to have a Jason Peters and a Lane Johnson, somebody, the guys that can really get after it on the edge. Yes, you can hide them, right? When we won the Super Bowl in Philadelphia, as I just mentioned, we had Lane Johnson at right tackle. We had Jason Peters, probably a Hall of Famer, at left tackle, Jason Kelce at center. But then we also had an absolute stud in Brandon Brooks at right guard. And then at our left guard, we had Chris Wazinski, and we were rotating with Isaac Seumalo. But you didn't really have to hide those guys. They were capable.
Right.
Right. And right now with what we have in-house, you're going to have to hide these guys, right? You're going to have to figure out some sort of scheme that you can develop and create to hide their flaws. So it's hard for me to say that a guard is not important as your tackles because it's a unit.
I didn't say it. What I said is hide a deficient guard more than you.
Yeah.
A tackle's going to get beat and look worse than a guard is.
Yeah, and I wasn't saying that you said that, so don't get me wrong. I know. But yeah, you can hide them, but I shouldn't have to, right? This is the NFL, and this is kind of the spot that it seems like we're going to be stuck in, that we're either going to get, again, mid-level to below guys to fill in those inside guard positions, or you're going to have to go through the draft and get rookies that you're going to have to teach and have to mold and develop. And maybe you'll catch a guy that's ready to come in like Emmanuel Pregnon or Besantes or Keelan. These guys.
Ione, the kid from Penn State. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's wishful thinking. That's wishful thinking right there. Probably. That's wishful thinking. He won't be there, But you have a couple of guys that fit the bill. So. Again, based on what I've seen over the first 3 days, it's to kind of what we're talking about. Maybe they're okay with having mid-level guards. Maybe they're okay with not having guys that can be the guys at that position. But we just talked about this window, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have the luxury of letting this window when you have a talent like Justin Herbert pass you by. Right, it's hard to find a
1 year of Mike McDaniel too potentially.
Yeah, you're playing with house money right now, and if you keep playing around, the casino is always going to win. So come with a better game plan and get it together because you have to solidify that. We've been talking about this, JD, Pete, D-Wade, for the past 2 years about how bad the offensive line has been. Mm-hmm. This has been the discussion, and here we are 3 days into free agency 2026, and we're having the same conversations.
Let me make us feel a little bit better. Maybe they just didn't want to invest the kind of money that they needed to in the personnel that was available. I'm not going to give $100 million to this guy. I'm going to wait. I've said this already a couple of times tonight. Maybe they trust in what they see in young talent in the draft. And it's like, I'm not going to spend that kind of money and only have this much money left over on something that's not really exactly what I want, when I can go get physically exactly what I want and hope that I can mold that into what I need. So perhaps that's what the thinking is. And that leaves you the money to spend free agent wise when the dust settles and you're on the end, if there's still anybody left.
I'm normally a pessimist when it comes to thinking. Obviously, JD, you've known me for a while with stuff. I think the worst in everything. That way I'm never disappointed. But I'm going to leave you with this as we're probably ending the show here soon. You know, when you watch the news and they tell you 29 minutes of crap, we're bombing this guy got robbed, this guy got killed. Oh, firefighters helped an old lady across the street. Girl Scout cookies, we bought them for everybody. The world's great. The last 30 seconds is supposed to change my mind on stuff. So what I'm going to say, guys, if we're not going to do it through free agency, the draft may be a little sketch because they're young. They could be, Hortiz and company could be working on a trade right now that we don't know about. That involves some cash, that involves some draft picks, that involves somebody right now that someone else may like that we don't, to bring in a proven guy on the offensive line right now. But maybe that's
deal with the devil. Tom Brady. We're going to get Max Crosby.
Who are you, Rob Booska, to come in here trying to offer perspective in a time like
right.
this?
And I don't like it, Rob.
How dare you? You know what? Shame on you. Shame on you. Now, so this is my thing. Like, you could be right. Like, the most important positions arguably on your offensive line you have figured out. You have the center, you have the two tackles for sure. This is the thing, though. You didn't spend the money on anybody else. You have $60 million. Like, had you gone and made huge improvements and got stars on defense, stars at skill position players, and done all of these other things, and that was just kind of what got left, right? That's one thing. You're sitting at this point, and, 70, 80 of the top 100 free agents in the class are already signed for, and now you have $60 million to spend on what, right? Like, yes, you might be able to get away with poor guard play in Mike McDaniel's offense. Who are you trying to prove it to? You have the money. You know who also probably works well in the Mike McDaniel offense? Good offensive guards. Do we ever think about that? Like, who are we trying to prove it to, right? Like, I heard one thing one time about Aaron Rodgers, like, he just keeps bringing his friends along so that he can show, hey, look, I just did it with a 37-year-old Randall Cobb, and look how good I still am, right? But he never wanted to actually get the great players around him, because then everyone would be like, hey, you have the great players around you, and he still couldn't get it done. I get that you could probably get away and hide some of these guys on the interior. You don't have to. You have $100 million, and I bought it last year, Jim, when they didn't want to spend the money on Will Freeze and the Drew Dowmans and all of those guys because they were getting outrageous contracts. You tell me you can't sign Elgton Jenkins for 2 years, $24 million? That's going to ruin your prospects. You can't, you can't sign Isaac Suamalu, right? 2 year or 3 years, $30 million. Like, they weren't breaking the bank that much this year, and you had the money to spend. So if that's not the plan, and that's one place you want to say, hey, we can work around this, we're going to fill out the rest of the roster. When? Right?
Nope.
And you have to have some perspective, like Rob says. You have lots of money. They could be cooking stuff up. It's 3 days in. But a lot of the top free agents are gone. So that's where a lot of these crash outs are coming from, because it's like, they could still have a great offense. I think their running game is going to be freaking awesome, right?
Yep.
But you can't tell me you're an offensive line team and then continue to not pour resources into it when you have the resources that you can put into it. Why? Like, you can do it. You can hide them. You can do all these things. You don't have to. You have the money to spend. Go spend it on someone. Go fill out the rest of this roster, and maybe I'll feel different about it, because it is still early. The league year started today. There's a lot of things they could still do to make us feel better about the situation, but this is just where it is right now.
Now.
That's going to wrap things up for today's show. Thank you to Rob. Thank you to Jim. Thank you to Kenyon Barner. And thank you mostly to the everydayers out there for coming to check us out today. We appreciate you guys. I mean, having, 300 to 350 live viewers for pretty much this whole show is awesome.
Thanks,
right? We love that. We couldn't do it without you guys. Make sure you're subscribing and following for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listening to the show wherever you get your podcast from. And you can also get an ad-free version of the podcast every day now with the Locked On Everydayer Club, which, since it is free agency, we have a special code for you. If you go to the Locked On Everydayer Club and use the code free agency, all caps, no spaces, you can get your first month free, and check out the Locked On Chargers Discord channel as well, which you can find in the show notes, and you can find at lockedonchargers.supercast.com. Now, this is my last time hosting. I'm going to miss you guys for the Locked On Chargers.
Miss you, D-Wade.
But I'll be back. I'll come on when Pete Fox gets back to, and come contribute with you guys and get on some of these off-season shows. But we're doing 2 damn shows a day right now on the Locked On Chargers Daily Show. So I got a lot going on my plate as well. And hopefully I can get some of you guys on there as well to help me fill some of this content load that I'm trying to bear right now, because it is a lot, but the everydayers are what makes it worth it. We appreciate you guys coming to check out this show. I appreciate my co-host today for helping get it done and talking some perspective, some overreactions, and everything that good that comes along with the off season. But that is going to wrap things up for today's show. Thank you all for checking it out. Until next time, take it easy and go Bolts.